We're with Mr. Hassan Choudhury this morning. He is the CEO of Red Records for Story Behind the Song. And we're going to play an entire hour of just the songs that you've selected for us. And you have stories behind every single song, right?
Well, I like to think I've got one or two stories. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and love to share some of my stories behind the songs.
Now, Has, what have you been up to? Like MCO, the pandemic, it has affected everybody, right? Everyone's life. Has it affected you personally?
I've got 3 children who have been homeschooled, so it definitely affected us. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly been an interesting experience. I have to say, full credit to Malaysia the way it's been handled. It was very, very tough. Particularly, you have three young children home learning. Your wife and an addition of a puppy dog as well. So it was entertaining. I think the dog kept us sane. But yeah, I'm glad to see that we came out of it well. But of course, we've had this latest spike, which obviously we need to address. But yeah, I'll tell you one thing. It's certainly brought the family closer together. I don't think we've ever spent that much time together. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy working from home?
I do actually. I think it's the new norm now. I think people have managed to readjust their lives, both from a professional and a personal point of view, and I enjoy it. Although we are now back at Universal Music, where Red Records is based, and we get out and about and we have our meetings in the office. But generally, you can work remotely, and I think it's worked really well. And I think it's going to be the new norm. And talking to my friends and former colleagues all over the world, I think everyone is in the same boat, and I think the world will change, and I think the world's working environment has changed and has evolved, and I think it works for the better, to be honest. So yeah, all good.
Now tell us about this first song that you've chosen for us by Aretha Franklin herself, Say a Little Prayer. What's the story behind this song?
I'm certainly feeling my age now, so when you look when this record first came out, I think it was 1968, but I was a very small boy growing up in London. I remember hearing it on the radio, and I came from a mixed religious house. My mother being Catholic Irish, and my father being a Muslim Bengali. And prayer was very important. I think prayer is still very, very important, no matter what religion you follow. I respect it all. So the song always takes me back to my childhood, listening to the first soulful voice on radio, and for me, one of the greatest voices that's ever graced this planet. And the song, just so beautiful. Every word, I listened to all the lyrics to the song, and yeah, it will always be an all-time classic, and introduced me to real soul music, which obviously as I got older became more and more appreciative of.
Perfect. Okay, let's get to our second one. Now, Has, from a music business perspective, how has this pandemic affected the music industry?
Well, I'd have to say, particularly for us at Red Records, and trying to launch a new artist, it's certainly been challenging. I think the biggest issue you will have is promotion for your songs, promotion of the artist, and you find that all the artists seem to be going down the same channels, in terms of promoting their records via platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., and it's become very competitive, and you almost have I think you look at all the social media and it's almost saturation point. How do you differentiate yourself and your campaign to the consumer? We're lucky at Red Records that we have this amazing joint venture where we have Universal and all their resources behind us, but of course AirAsia. Now AirAsia has been dramatically affected as well. We all know that, and our marketing avenues with the airline have been restricted with restricted flights, but we've still been able to tap into their huge data, their huge marketing reach, including the 140 planes that are going to be flying domestically. We've been able to use their physical assets to promote Gillian Weigel's new single Passcode. So yeah, you're going to have to adapt, just like we talked about working from home. You're going to have to work on your digital strategy and to make it innovative and creative and something that really sticks out and differentiates you from all the other competition. But it's tough. It's tough for everyone.
Because back in the day, if you wanted to promote someone's new album, they'd go on the road, they'd tour. Will we ever see concerts again?
Yeah, I think you definitely will. I think we all know the only way we'll ever, address the whole pandemic is with a vaccine. We all know that, so we have to live with it. Now, many artists are doing promotion. There's been a lot of live streaming events, particularly now. I've noticed there's, I think, one for Billie Eilish. I think she's doing one, I think I just read about, and that will definitely happen. I think the way that you take the live concept into the marketplace will change, but it will return. It will definitely return. There is nothing like seeing a band live. And of course, promotion, being in a market, being able to talk to you guys, and talking about your record is vital. And we hope that Janine Weigel will be out on the road soon. We're looking to take her to Thailand as soon as the borders open, because that's her home market. So you can only do so much in Malaysia. She loves it here, but we would like her to get to Thailand and all the other surrounding markets in ASEAN before we take her back to Europe and Germany, where she's obviously half German as well. We'd love to take her there, but we're restricted by the borders, and we have to respect that.
Now tell us about the story behind this song, All For Once, I Swear.
Right, I mean, it's such an amazing song. I was very, very lucky to work for Warner Music. I was head of TV promotion of the label East West Records, which represented Atlantic, and my job was to get the artists and the videos placed on television. And I worked with All For One on this single. It was #1 record, and it was on Top of the Pops, and obviously they couldn't make it in to get to Top of the Pops, so I had this great opportunity to organise a satellite link in Los Angeles. And I remember we did it from the beach out in Florida, and it was my first ever time to the US and traveling with the record company. Did it in a bit of style, and I met up with the guys there, and it was an amazing experience to go to the US for the first time. And all expenses paid, I suppose. So yes, it was fantastic, and it was my first trip to the US, and to do it as a satellite link for Top of the Pops, which obviously is no longer, but an institutional program in the UK. But that was my story many years ago.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. Now, Has, you've launched the careers of a lot of up and coming singers. Which was your most memorable?
Wow, that's very. There's some many. I've been privileged to work at Warner's, Sony, and Universal. So
all the big record
labels, and I worked through so many different divisions. From the back end, being in finance and in sales, but then moving to the front end, with promotion and marketing, where you are dealing with the artists on a one-to-one basis. There's so many. It really, that's a real tough question because I've worked with artists from Sam Smith to James Morrison. You've worked with Cher, who was obviously an established artist and an actress, and I remember relaunching her career with the Believe single, and that was an amazing thing for me to meet Cher. My mum and dad didn't really know many of the artists I was working with, but when I said I was working with Cher, they couldn't believe it. And when I met her, there's not many you get starstruck by, but I certainly got starstruck by her. So I mean, there's been so many, and I've been honoured, as I said, to work with these incredibly talented acts over the years and artists, and to see them grow. Whether it's Ellie Goulding, as I said, that's another one that springs to mind. So I couldn't say anyone in particular, but as I said, I've been privileged to work with so many.
Cher,
go ahead.
Cher was what year? What year was that?
Cher would have been 1996, I think it was. Yeah, right. It was she signed up for Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers UK. And as I said, a funny story, when I first met her, I was waiting for the plane, and literally everyone was on the plane, and I was starting to panic because I thought, oh no, she's going to miss the plane. And literally staying there, and literally the door was going to close, and literally strolls out. I could see this entourage of like 25 people, and then you could see this mass of black hair behind it. And I thought, oh, she's arrived, she's here. And I was shaking. And then she just looked at me and went straight into the plane, didn't say anything. It was like the parting of the way at the Red Sea. She walked straight onto the plane. And I said, wow. I sat next to the manager, and I said, wow, I thought Cher was going to miss the plane. And the manager turned around and said, never would happen. The plane waits for Cher.
Wow.
That was good old British Airways as well.
But when you see someone performing, how do you know that that person has that, what they call the X factor, or that person can make it?
I think the music industry's changed so much now, and coming from AirAsia and then going back into music via Red Records, I could see how the industry's changed so much. Airlines are data driven, and now the music industry is very, very data driven, and you see artists being signed purely on data. And I remember the older days, and I'm sure a lot of the A&R guys, that's artists and repertoire, who sign artists, a lot of their instinct came from the heart. And when they saw someone, they heard them, they saw what the whole look and how they sounded. That still goes on, but I don't think it's as apparent as it was years ago. I think when you walk in and you see an artist, when I saw Janine Weigel, who signed to Red Records, our first artist, my heart told me and my ears told me, were telling me that this artist is special. We should sign her. She is a talent that stands out from the crowd. And I think you know that being in music and anyone, to be honest, anyone who loves music, when it conjures up so much emotion, but when you see the artist and you think, that artist is special, and maybe and along with the record company, could really, really help this artist, establish themselves in a very competitive industry. So yeah, I think it's data driven now. It's changed dramatically, but a lot of mine, for me, still comes from the heart.
Okay, now tell us about this song that you chose for us, Seal's Kiss from a Rose. What is the story?
Seal was really interesting. I was once again very fortunate to work with him. He was signed to ZTT, was Warner Music UK, and he'd just come off a hit with Adamski. It was Killer, and it was literally called Killer. And we signed him, and he had a single called Crazy. And they said to me, I was a sales guy at the time, they said, Hass, would you as a surprise, take Seal out on the road with you, and we're just going to turn up at the record stores with him, because obviously at the time we were promoting the single. And I go, wow, they're going to be surprised. And then we would go around in my car and just literally turn up at a retailer, and you'd have, I think, a 6'4" black guy, Rastafarian, with a big black leather coat.
Yeah.
Going into the store, and you should have seen the look on the retailer's face. Like literally, they would like, oh my god, it's Seal's come into the record store. And to be fair to him, he went round every record store with me, and then he even went with me to the head offices of all the big chains in the UK. It was Woolworths and Our Price. And he didn't batter an eyelid. He would do everything you would ask him to do. And an incredible artist, so talented. And the funniest story, I said to him, hey, when you make it, what would you do if you went to the Brit Awards, which is the big prestigious ceremony? He goes, I tell you what I would do. I would buy the coolest pink suit, and I'd wear it. I said, really? He goes, yeah, that's what I'd do. Anyway, I think we rolled on to the next year, and he went to the Brit Awards, and I was moving into promotion. And I saw him at the Brit Awards, and he won 3 awards. And I looked over, and he goes, Hass, I got the suit. He was wearing the pink suit. So it's a true story. So an amazing artist, and Kiss from a Rose, wonderful record that once again evokes so much emotion and passion. And he went on to amazing things and sold millions and millions of records around the world, and just takes it all back to see an artist who was willing to work hard and go to the roots of going to a record store without any airs or graces. He went and did it. So and one of the best fun artists you could ever go to out at night time. Always have so much fun with him. So yeah, that's the story. And Kiss from a Rose, what an amazing record, hugely successful around the world, and timeless.
Pink suit, I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. That's a story.
Yeah.
All your stories are great, because you're like first-hand stories from all these artists.
Let's start with the song first right now, right?
Okay. So this last one, we're going to start with, is it James Morrison or U2?
Yeah.
U2. Let's do the U2.
Okay, U2, yeah. Okay, we just played one of your song selections, which is U2's One. Can you tell us a little bit about the story behind this song?
Well, once again, it's I grew up with U2, when I was a student, and being half Irish myself, very proud of what they'd done for Irish music and rock music, and it wasn't really my thing when I was a kid, and I was more of a soul boy, and but they got me into it, and I just loved the whole rock and roll of Bono and The Edge, and so followed their careers for years, and then when I joined Universal running international marketing, they were signed to Universal. So once again, you get to work with them. And it was like when I first met them, it was like all those pictures and the posters that you had on your wall, they all came to real life. And these were real people. And once again, as I said to you earlier, you very rarely get starstruck, as Ed Cher was one of them. But U2, I was definitely starstruck. I was actually stuck for a few words. One of the good things, though, it's made it a little bit easier, that is my daughter's godmother is Edge's sister.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was something that wasn't anything to do with my relationship with U2. It's my former boss at Sony, Tim, was married to Edge's sister, Jill. We became very close to them, and they then became the godparents of Summer, our daughter. So, I had a little road in there, so I wasn't as nervous as I could have been, but they were amazing to work with. We saw them recently in Singapore, I think it was last year, and just they smash it, they do it, and one is just such an incredible song. I think it's what life should all about. It's one world, especially now in the pandemic. Everyone needs to be together. Tony's very much about One Air Asia. We're all together as one. So I thought it was one of the song that really stood out for me. They've got so many great songs.
Yeah,
U2. You could be here. You could make a whole show on U2.
That's true.
I just thought this one would be a good one.
Now, as a person who's been in the music business most of his life, how has music shaped your life?
I think music shapes a lot of people's lives. I mean, I think everyone loves music of some description. It could be rock, gospel, it could be Buddhist chants, it could be Gregorian chants if you're Catholic or Christian. I think music evokes so much passion. It's definitely shaped my life. It's a soundtrack to your life. I think everything, all the greatest memories, whether your first child or growing up as a young kid or your best mate or your first holiday, it's all around music for me. And that's why I can easily relate. As soon as I hear a song, I go straight back to that moment. I think that's probably true for a lot of people. As I said, you get goosebumps, when you hear a certain songs like Aretha Franklin, takes you straight back to that moment as a child. Or even with U2, with One, that first concert when you see them. So I think certainly for me, it's certainly shaped my life, and I've been so fortunate to be working in music for over 30 years. So, and back again with Red Records. So I think it was always going to be my destiny.
So if Red Records, what's the next step? I mean, if someone wants to be signed to Red Records, how does that work?
So we have Janine Weigel, she's our first and only artist at the moment. So we are definitely looking for another artist. So please send in, if you've got your music and you want to send it into www.redrecords.com. There is actually a page, and there's a drop down menu. Please send in your music. We want to find more talent here in the region. That was the whole reason we set up the label, to get the best of ASEAN talent. I know it's here. I just know it, and we just need to find it. And if it's the right artist that we believe we can take to the world, we will invest. And but please send in your demos. As we're nothing without music, we're nothing without talents. And I think, when we started the label, we saw so much going on in Korea with K-pop, which has been phenomenally successful. And of course, you had J-pop prior to that, and the UK and the US have had their run, and lots of amazing European music. This region deserves a chance, and that's what we hope we can do. We're not miracle workers, but we'll do our best so we find the right talent, and the most important thing is amplifying that to the world.
Good.
Yep. Thank you so much, Hassan.